Hi there, my name is John Holden. I graduated from the University of Connecticut in 1992 with a bachelor's degree in ornamental horticulture. In 1993, I started Land Designs Unlimited. I design, install, and maintain landscapes for homeowners in Upper Fairfield County, Connecticut. Today, I'd like to share my passion with you. Okay, in the last video we talked about the 2.5 pruning tools that everybody should have, and in this video I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how to select your pruners. Now, rather than kind of be very general about this one, I'm going to just talk about what I know, and what I know about is Felco pruners. So what I like to do is just kind of show you the difference in Felco pruners. And the most common Felco pruners you're going to see out there are going to be, the Felco 2 is like the go-to Felco pruner. And I really think basically the short answer is just get a Felco 2. But there are a couple times I might recommend you get a different pruner. I have always carried a Felco 7 at my side. It's got a rotating handle on it. I don't know if you can see that. But when you make the cuts, let's see, when you make the cuts, the handle rotates. And what that does is it makes it a little bit easier and give you less calluses. And the other thing you'll notice is that it's got an ergonomic handle. This is the Felco 2. You see how the handle's straight? This is the Felco 7, where it's got this little crook in the top of it. So it makes it a little bit more comfortable to carry. Now, if I'm going to be pruning trees and shrubs all day, I want to be carrying my Felco 7s. Because it really does take less effort. I just finished sharpening both of these guys, and I went out and I practiced on some branches, and it really was easier to prune using the Felco 7s. There's just something about the way they're made. But what happens is, if you're only going to be pruning for an hour or two, the Felco 2s are more than adequate. I mean, they do a really wonderful job. And the other thing with the Felco 2s I like is, and I don't know if it's psychological or not, but if you look at the size of the head here, I mean, that looks very similar sized. Let's see if we can back up a little bit. So this is the Felco 7, this is the Felco 2. If I'm in a garden and I'm maintaining perennials, I actually prefer to carry the Felco 2s because I can use these just like garden shears and just have one less tool in my pocket. The Felco 7s, I don't know if it's the way I've got them maintained, but they just don't seem to do as good a job. These guys here are awesome for cutting back ornamental grasses. Even miscanthus, a really thick one. These guys are awesome, the Felco 2s. So I guess what I'd like to say is that, if you're what I'm going to consider the average homeowner, I mean, I really think pretty much everybody, your first pair of pruners should be Felco 2s, let's say that. And then if you're going to upgrade to a second pair, and maybe you notice you're doing a lot of pruning, I would go with the Felco 7s. Now Felco does make some other pruners. They have some that have a larger handle, so you can cut them with 2 hands. They also make some that have smaller handles for smaller hands. But, in general for the landscape trade, start with your Felco 2s, and then if you really find yourself doing a lot of pruning, go with the Felco 7s. When I started the company many years ago, I did buy this pair of Felco 21s. And I think I use these Felco 21s maybe once or twice a year. I already mentioned in the last video that most of my smaller pruning is done with the Felco 600 pruning saw. Now, if you own an orchard and you're going to be out in the orchard all day cutting larger stuff, I'm sure it makes great sense to have a nice pair of loppers. And I mean, these things are razor sharp. They're just so easy to cut things with. But if you're just working around the yard, I almost think a pair of loppers like this is unnecessary. The only time I would use a pair of loppers like this around the yard is if I was loading brush in the pickup truck and maybe using these guys to cut the brush in smaller pieces. So, a good pair of loppers, I guess it's nice to have, but you're really probably not going to use them too often. Okay, so that's our discussion about pruning shears and loppers. Now in the next video, I'd like to go ahead and talk to you a little bit about hedge clippers and hedge shears.